It's day 2 in a new working week, and we are back here live on News Central Television, ready definitely to rumble on Breakfast Central, taking a look at the big stories that's making the rounds, top stories like we call it, and no doubt I'm sure you have yours. The front pages of the papers are today very, very hot, because the stories that we'll be looking at from the front pages are equally interesting. But when we talk about our top stories, a lot of questions come to mind. But for me in particular, as we start off on a Tuesday morning, I think I would like to start off with one big question to you as a Nigerian. What do you think will help our economy get better? Well, you might want to think about that in the course of the show for the next 2 hours. Possibly at the end of the show, you will have answers to that question. I'm Joe Hansen, by the way, and I'm saying good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central.
And I am Usaogi Ogbonwan, welcoming everyone who's joining us from Nigeria and, of course, watching us virtually across the world. Remember, the phone lines will be available sometime around 8 a.m. this morning, so you can share your thoughts with us on the newspaper headlines and major stories making headlines across Nigeria. We have the next 2 hours, just like Joe has said, to discuss some of the big conversations happening here in Nigeria. One of the things we will be stopping over at is in Edo State, where there seems to be 2 deputy governors currently. Philip Shaibu, of course, declaring that he is resuming office and asking all staff of the deputy governor's office to resume as well, or face, disciplinary actions. But what that means is that Edo State currently might have 2 deputy governors, one from the PDP and one from the APC. And Governor Obaseki, is likely to have an APC deputy governor working along with him or not. There's been a response, obviously, from the Edo State government, of course, countering Philip Shaibu's statements, and, of course, asking that he does not bring chaos to the state. So these are some of the things that we will talk about this morning. Of course, in the newspapers this morning, one of the things that I've also seen is the launching of the CNG buses in Nigeria. The Nigerian president, of course, has kicked that off, with many reactions to it as well. People saying that that's not exactly going to have any effect in reducing the cost of living or, improving on the quality of lives of the average Nigerian, because it wasn't, buses weren't one of the things that Nigerians stated that they needed in the start of this administration. Joe, what do you think?
Well, you're right. Nigerians are reacting quite differently concerning the CNG buses. Think about that. Let's look at it practically. If you're going to board a CNG bus from Victoria Island to the mainland, yes, quite frankly, the prices would come down. But would it really come down to what the average Nigerian can pay? Because remember, the price of converting those cars are quite different from what the reality tells us today. And we do know the Nigerian factor that will come in. The driver, the area boys on the road who will tell you where's the money for tax. You're paying for this tax, you're paying for this, you're paying for that. By the time you add all of that into the money that you're going to remit back to even the company of the person in charge of the CNG buses, and it's not just going to be an easy walk in the park. It's going to be a very tough one for Nigerians. But then again, let's also look at it from a positive light that, okay, we've been talking about CNG, now it's being launched. Let's see what it will do to the economy. Absolutely.
And I mean, so I would give, kudos, that it has finally been launched, even if it's just 30 of them. They say it will carry about 100 passengers every day, or each bus will carry about 100 passengers every day. So yes, that it has been launched, but I just still interpret these things as temporary fixes. They are not necessarily sustainable at the same time, except there is a clear roadmap and a clear path, with which we can convert 70% or 80% of vehicles in Nigeria to CNG operated. If there is no actual roadmap or clear, path, then it's really just a temporary fix. It's not anything that will be sustainable. And what Nigerians really need is proper transportation infrastructure that works for the whole country. And I'm talking about much better roads. I'm talking about trains and airplanes, and of course, for the waterways, proper infrastructure. In the news this morning, I think it's one of the stories, about, or maybe in the last couple of weeks, we've seen about a boat capsizing, leading to loss of lives, which of course happens in different parts of the world, no doubt. But when you hear about it in Nigeria, it's not because it was some freak accident that no one expected. most of the time it's because proper safety measures were put in place. And it's almost the same thing when you hear about the road traffic accidents in Nigeria. So there are certain things that Nigerians would rather have than these, ideas that really just come out of nowhere, which is, of course, the CNG buses. But again, kudos to the government for at least kicking it off in the first place. But again, I believe that we need proper transportation infrastructure, and that would also help not just with moving around the country, but also with agriculture, with businesses. These are some of the things that I believe would be put in place. And for those who say, oh, Mr. President is not a magician, nobody says that he is. Nobody is expecting magic. But there's ways that these plans can be communicated to Nigerians, and everyone will listen to them and say, okay, we understand that these are not things that would happen in the next 6 months. No miracle is going to happen in a year, but we would understand that the most basic steps are being put in place. If we're taking loans, we know the reasons as we're taking loans to set up these basic infrastructure in healthcare, in transportation, in security, and general infrastructure. We would know the reasons we're taking those loans. But if there's no proper communication, if we don't have these things broken down step by step to the average Nigerian, it's difficult to convince the people that you actually know what you're doing. And it's one of the reasons when we see these stories in the news, everyone just looks at it and turns their face the other way. Because nobody really can, trust that these decisions were made, from the right place. It's not that difficult. I've been speaking, a lot, about the importance of communication between the Nigerian government and citizens. It took the president a couple of days before he eventually addressed protesters, during the End Bad Governance protest, and that was a sign that there's no actual interest in proper communication. It might be wishful thinking. We might be asking too much, or for too much rather, when we say that we need to have a media chat every day. If not from the president, then at least from his media representatives. We see these things happen in other countries where, in the US is a perfect example. There is a proper media chat almost daily between the press and the White House press secretary.
Yeah.
Can we have something similar? Even if it's not daily, let it be every couple of days that we have proper conversations. Let Nigerians understand where the plans are, what the plans are, understand, the proper communication between the presidency and the Nigerian people. It creates some level of trust between what the government is doing and what the people are, are expecting. Some level of trust, but we don't have that.
It's a cause for worry, no doubt. And just to add, before we go straight to our top story, that in the same line of communication, we've seen communication breach, even within the presidency. Amongst themselves,
yeah.
Where you have the special advisor talking, you have another one talking, the other one counteracting what this one has said, and the other one waiting to counteract this one. And then the one that shocked me the most, before we go straight to our headlines today, is the Minister of Information. I'm talking about Honorable Mohammed Idris, blaming the media, saying that the media is the reason why there was a protest, because the good deeds of the president is not articulated properly to Nigerians through the medium, which happens to be in quotes.
That's just very sad. This is the same president who has not had any media chat since he was in office.
Anyway, thanks for staying with us. It's just our morning wake-up conversation. Let's go straight into what we have for you today here on Breakfast Central. This morning, Patriot Group visits Tinubu's 6th new constitution, a follow-up conversation, and we're going to have a guest who's going to talk more on what their plans are.
And also in Edo State, the government accuses Philip Shaibu of impersonating the Deputy Governor.
Police refute claims of protest-related casualties in Kano State.
Also this morning, NLC raid a move to sabotage efforts, and that's once again from the police. We also will be bringing you the newspaper front pages, sharing with you the major stories making headlines across Nigeria this morning. But first, breakfast headlines. Now let's begin breakfast headlines by telling you that the Rivers State High Court on Monday sacked Tony Okocha as the caretaker committee chairman of the All Progressive Congress in Rivers State. Justice Sika Aprioku overturned the removal of Emeka Beke as APC chairman and reinstated him to the position. The court also invalidated the dissolution of the elected State Working Committee led by Beke and annulled the appointment of Okocha and his caretaker committee members. Still in Rivers State, the Rivers State Police Command has confirmed the explosion at the Secretariat of the Action People's Party, APP, in Port Harcourt along the GRA axis on Monday morning. According to the command spokesperson, Grace Iringekoko, a team of bomb experts was deployed to the scene to investigate the circumstances surrounding the blast. And now the Nigerian Labour Congress has tasked President Bola Tinubu's administration to stop the blame game, reverse his policies that have caused hardship to Nigerians, and engage in meaningful dialogue with relevant stakeholders. These, among others, were contained in a communique issued at the end of the Emergency National Executive Council meeting of the NLC. Now to Edo State, the reinstated Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, claims he has resumed office and directed his staff to follow suit. He issued a stern warning to banks, cautioning against conducting any transactions with the office of the Deputy Governor without his explicit consent, labeling such as illegal. Now to education matters. The West African Examinations Council has withheld the results of 215,267 candidates from the 2024 West African Senior School Certificate Examination. Speaking on Monday while announcing the release of the 2024 WAEC results, the head of the Nigerian office, WAEC, Dr. Amos Dangut, stated that the results were withheld in connection with various reported cases of examination malpractice. And now in South Africa, a new report from the UN Aid Coordination Office reveals that food insecurity levels in Zimbabwe are rapidly deteriorating after it was hit with historic droughts due to the El Niño weather pattern. Earlier this year, Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa declared a national disaster to tackle the prolonged drought crisis. He said the country needs $2 billion to tackle hunger caused by low rainfall, which has wiped out about half of the maize crops. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Let's move back to Breakfast Central now. Before we get into our top stories, I am Osaogie Ogbonwa.
The Nigeria Police Force has shed more light on the raid of the office of a foreign national at the Labour House in Abuja, saying that intelligence information revealed that perpetrators took advantage of the recent #EndBadGovernance protests to create crisis in the country. The Inspector General of Police, while responding to questions on why the police were not in support of the hardship protest, says that available intelligence revealed that some of the organizers planned to use the protest to sabotage the country. Our correspondent, Edo Joseph, reports.
The allegations by the Nigerian Labour Congress over the raid of its national secretariat by security operatives has continued to generate reactions nationwide. While the NLC is demanding an apology from the federal government and police over what it described as an unwarranted invasion, the police is saying it acted within the rules of the law. The police also denied that it raided the NLC headquarters, but a private office belonging to a foreign national in the Labour building over intelligence information that the suspect was engaging in terrorist activities and sabotage efforts using the recent EndBadGovernance protest in Nigeria.
Why the noise about the raid on Labour House when the police didn't raid Labour House? We raided only a shop that the individual was using as a front, and we have been monitoring his activities. He was very active in the Sudan crisis. Wow. And he's in Nigeria mobilizing people to destabilize our country.
Speaking at the Nigerian Police Force Youth Summit, which held in Abuja, the Inspector General of Police says that criminal elements tried to take advantage of the protest using the cover of its popularity on social media. He called for collaboration with youth in the country, saying that the police is open to a partnership.
I don't believe that protest that is mobilized on the social media is hijacked. Hijacked by who? By the same people that were mobilized for the protest. So our experience in previous protests would not make the police to want to take part in any protest that we know is going to be violent.
I have seen that we are not communicating enough to the Nigerian youth. And this is why I appreciate what is happening here.
But the police has the wherewithal. They also have the responsibility to get members of the community to cooperate with them.
While it has been agreed by all stakeholders here that citizens are expected to play a role in ensuring adequate security, many believe that the ideas presented here will help contribute to fostering youth involvement in national security issues. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Very, very clear in that report that it's called to question once again if the Labour Party office was actually raided by the police. But then again, you do have the police hunter himself making it clear that it wasn't their office. So this leads to a lot of questions upon questions. But one of the things we also picked, I personally picked in that report from Edo Joseph, is the fact that during that conference, one of the panelists said we are not communicating enough. It still boils down to how we opened the show this morning. Yeah. And I think when you have a miscommunication, or you have a situation whereby people are not hearing from you, it all of a sudden becomes the norm. And that's why people would go ahead to find out things for themselves. And we saw how this led to the hashtag #EdBadGovernance, where people said, okay, you know what? It's high time we take these things to the streets, and we have our list where you need to attend to us one after the other. I'm going to say here, very frankly, kudos to the police. I think they did a fantastic job at some point, ensuring that everything that took place at that time worked smoothly. But then again, communication seems to be a major challenge here.
I mean, kudos to the police if you're focusing on Lagos. But if we go outside Lagos, if we look at the reports from Kano State and other parts of northern Nigeria, I don't think there's any kudos that they deserve. There are still claims that they fired live rounds that led to the loss of Nigerian lives. Amnesty International and a few other newspapers reported that. So for Lagos, maybe yes, they seemingly, even if I had still had issues, and I remember a conversation with Benjamin Hundenyi, I pointed out those issues, that I still don't believe, as professional as they claim to have been, I don't believe that it was necessary to use tear gas in Lagos at all. There wasn't any need for it. He had his argument, which I totally do not agree with. And I've made my points clear concerning that. There's no need, there was nothing in Lagos that needed the use of tear gas. But there is that. The NLC story, the NLC claims that the office was raided. We had a report. Our reporter was, at the NLC office, and also did a report there. And that seems to be the NLC office, except they don't know how to identify their particular office or not. I'm not sure who exactly is being deceitful now. It's either the NLC doesn't know exactly which of the buildings, or the offices in that building they use and belong to them, or the police is not being very honest, or the Agio police not being very honest in the situation. So I'm not sure which it is. But I remember that we did a report. We spoke to people, who were in that building, and they gave their side of the story. And from that their report, it was raided by armed men that they said was likely the DSS or the police at night. And nobody was arguing whether it was the NLC office or not. So if the police says it wasn't NLC office per se, maybe it's the same building, but it wasn't the office then, maybe there needs to be some proper interpretation.
I think what you're saying is it's just the building next to the NLC office that they decided to raid, haven't watched the person. But I think the point is, while they were doing that, people took advantage of the hashtag end bad governance protest and decided to go into the NLC. So bottom line, communication. When the NLC came out, the police did debunk that statement that, we're not the one who raided the office. The DSS also said we're not the one. But then again, who do we believe?
So while police were carrying out a raid, random people
were also carrying out theirs.
That's very hard to believe.
So there seems to be some
And I mean, by the way, you know, the FCT didn't have that level of, I wouldn't call it violence now, you know, that you would expect that while the police carrying out a raid at night, then random strangers or random protesters will be active at night. There wasn't any protesters at night. Will then go and break into another office. So I don't know. But the point is, the NLC has had their, you know, their allegations. The police, you know, has their own, you know, response to it. And just a lot of questions still need to be asked. But we, of course, you know, will be interrogating issues, you know, concerning that particular story. But let's move to Edo State now. We'll get into that conversation after this very short break. The headquarters of political drama seems to be relocating from Rivers to Edo State. The Edo State government has accused Philip Shaibu of impersonating the state deputy governor despite being removed from office in April over allegations of gross misconduct. The reinstated Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, revealed in a broadcast that he has resumed office in line with the ruling of the Federal High Court in Abuja, which faltered the process of his impeachment.
However, the Edo State government, through the Commissioner for Communication and Orientation, Chris Nehikare, urged the public to disregard any correspondence from Shaibu, stating that the issue is still in court, following a motion for stay of execution pending appeal. Chris revealed that security agencies have been alerted to a potential breach of peace, and Shaibu will be held responsible for any security breaches arising from his actions. This morning, joining us is political strategist and analyst Bob Manuel Omoru. Thank you for being here, Mr. Omoru. Let's look at this drama, quite frankly. Just as we said at the opening of this conversation, it seems the headquarters has indeed moved to Edo State today. It's been a tussle from back and forth. Now we have two deputy governors and we have two persons speaking, giving brief here and there, and the governor standing tall and, of course, holding brief for one of the deputy governors, asking Nigerians to neglect whatever the judiciary has said. What's your take on what's really going on in Edo State?
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians. The matter in Edo State is a simple one, and I'm quite puzzled when you try to compare Edo State to Rivers State, but that's fine. The matter in court is clear, and the court itself was clear on her judgment. So I am a bit worried and surprised that the Commissioner for Information, Chris Nehikare, would come to the public and in an attempt to, of course, distract the people. And I would think the court would take note of that, because that is outright contempt of court. The court was explicit in her judgment and in her pronouncement, reinstating Honorable Philip Shaibu as the Deputy Governor of Edo State, and gave perpetual injunctions. And of course, I am aware that the Edo State government approached the court again for a stay of execution. And the matter was adjourned till 24th of September. That means it wasn't granted. Now, if the court did not grant the stay of execution, it means her earlier judgment must be followed to the latter. So where they are now bringing up this insinuation or this deceived tendencies to dissuade the public from the cruise of the matter is laughable. And I want to wonder again, is it the same Edo State government that refused to obey all court rulings that is now asking the people to be wary of Shaibu, who is the real deputy governor of the state that we are aware of, or as pronounced by the court? So I don't really know what their problems are. But as it is, as of today, the court was straight in her judgment. The court was explicit. The court said Shaibu remained the deputy governor. And the narrative here, you said there are two deputy governors in Edo State. There are not two deputy governors in Edo State. There is only one. Right Honorable Philip Shaibu is the known deputy governor by law, by the electorate, and to the people of Nigeria. And even the one Obaseki tried to smuggle into government, as we speak, it doesn't stay in the office of the deputy governor. It doesn't go with the paraphernalia of that office. Even the cars is driving, none of them has the emblem of the deputy governor. It shows that they also know that the court was final in her judgment on that matter. And if they have any other thing, they should wait till 24th of September. If perhaps Justice Omotosho will grant stay of execution, or they head to appeal, which we are aware that that is where they are heading to already. So that is the matter on ground.
Help clarify exactly what status quo is currently. And, you know, when you apply for a stay of execution, is that the way it works? You then wait for a ruling which might come in 2 months or in 3 months before the stay of execution for the previous ruling is approved or not?
Yes. You apply for the stay of execution, and then the Honorable Court, in her wisdom, fixed a date to listen to your complaint as to why you want the stay of execution. The court did not, after that, say, Shaibu, pending when this stay of execution is granted, stay out of office. No, the court did not even overturn herself in her previous ruling. The court maintained the status quo that Shaibu remained the deputy governor of Edo State. So until there is another interpretation or another judgment, whatever the court have said at the ruling stands until that stay of execution is granted. So Shaibu is to be in the office pending when the court say otherwise, or a superior court say otherwise. And as long as there's been no pronouncement, no judgment, Shaibu remain the deputy governor of Edo State and act in accordance of that. So what the Edo State government is doing is trying to distract the public, and of course, we know why they are doing that. And of course, it's a contempt of court, because the court never said Shaibu is not the deputy governor. The last pronouncement of the court is Shaibu is the deputy governor of Edo State, and that all allowances and other obstacles to him in the period he was out of office should be paid. And there were specific injunctions given on that matter. So Omobayo is not the deputy governor of Edo State. And you know, if you want to really know Nigerians and law, our people know how to keep the tenancy of the law more than even those in government. The both of them were in the United States for Afema Congress. You saw what happened there. So many people chased Omobayo away, said no, by the ruling of the court, Shaibu is the deputy governor, we can't have you here. And he went back to his hotel. So if the common man could interpret what the law is, how come a state government with an attorney general and with lawyers surrounding the government cannot understand what that interpretation, as simple as it is, what it stands for?
Yeah. All right.
But I am not surprised. I am not surprised. This is not the first time. Today, as of today, last year, over a year plus, the court, that the Judicial Commission, declared 8 judges to be sworn in as High Court judges in Edo State. It took Obaseki over a year and pressure from the public before he could swear in 5 remaining 3. The 3 are still in judicial limbo. They are still out there, not knowing whether to resume office or just to go about their normal business dealings. The same Obaseki is an anti-constitutional man, we know. The same Obaseki shut up local government for over 2 to 3 years without a duly elected officer. And what did he do? He came up with another pseudo political move, which he called local government licensing officer. Where in the world have you heard of local government licensing officer? It's either you're a local government chairman or you're an acting chairman in the space of XYZ period when there will now be a real election to bring in the elected chairman of the people's choice. So this has been all their tactics and antics, we know. These people, especially the Edo State government, don't follow judicial judgment. They don't. But yet they want to always rush to court to get judgment. Well, and the same court, you don't obey them.
That's not very.
They fail. They have.
That's not very strange, you know. I mean, generally with Nigerian politicians, they normally will follow court judgments that are in their favor, and those judgments that aren't in their favor, they struggle with abiding by them. But and now we might have a situation where there's a PDP governor and an APC deputy governor in Edo State, with Philip Shaibu taking, of course, over back his seat until the 24th of September. How do you think that would play out?
Well, the Philip Shaibu that I know, and at least from what he has displayed most recently when he was attacked in Benin, I see in him a very fine young man and one who has rule over his emotion, one who is always aware that he is a leader rather than being a subordinate. I know that. I don't see any issue coming up from him to the governor. And I am very, very certain with this last broadcast, he's just out to discharge his constitutional duties. And I see that coming up. We have had issues in the past where governors and deputies fall to different political parties. Some manage it well and some couldn't manage it well. But in this issue, except the governor is puzzled with the all attempt to always be violent as it is, I don't see Shaibu disrespecting his office, and I don't see Shaibu being at loggerhead with the governor. But I see him
that's not
always.
That's going to be difficult. I mean, they've been at loggerheads for years now. How do you say you don't see them being at loggerheads between now and the 24th of September when they currently are battling each other in court? How does that happen? And this narrative that you're selling about Philip Shaibu being some innocent little angel in Edo State, not very many people will buy that. That's not what it looks like. He's moved political parties. He dumped the APC in 2020. He went to the PDP. He's dumped the PDP. Now he's back to the APC. In the next 6 months, he might be back to the PDP again. That's not exactly his character, the way you're describing him, is it?
Okay, let me give you the point. A man that has friend must show himself friendly. There's a friend that's still close than a brother. That was what Shaibu proved to Obaseki. You didn't really know the cruise of the matter that led to their decamping from APC to PDP. His Excellency Oshomole wanted Obaseki out at all costs because of this same attitude of always being at loggerhead with political leaders, with party faithfuls, and all the rest of it. And of course, Shaibu stood and said, no, these things are manageable. And it was his loyalty to Obaseki that led to him leaving Comrade Adams Oshomole to PDP. And his matter was clear. I am loyal to my boss. Until there was an attempt to remove him from office, you didn't see Shaibu in court. You didn't see Shaibu make public statements berating Obaseki as other deputy governors will do. They will go straight headlong with their boss. He never did that. He was quiet. He was calm on this matter until there was a question on his office. That was what pushed him to the court. And for those who think, Shaibu is XYZ, well, except they have any public outing where they can question his character, those things are just mere rumor. Right. And let me tell you, the absence of Shaibu in the Edo State government for that period he was not on seat, it affected almost every fiber of Edo State. You go to Bender Insurance, go and check their performance, check our youth in sport, check their performance. Shaibu is the real engine of the Edo State government. The moment he left, everybody knew that leadership left. He is the one who perhaps has been ensuring that Edo State people are still in tune with this Obaseki government. Because Obaseki already lost everything that makes a leader worthwhile in the eyes of the people. You can say that for free. There are classified information that will not just be released to media, except I forward some documents to you, and then we can speak on that.
All right. Mr. Moru, you've spoken so highly of Philip Shaibu, and it shows that it's obvious that you are a huge supporter and a huge fan of the deputy governor. But of course, the Justice Omotosho-led decision has shown that there was a flagrant disregard for the Constitution in ensuring that they impeached the deputy governor. But the point here is, you do have Godwins who assumed the role of the deputy governor, and funds were being spent already. And Shaibu resumes just a few hours ago, yesterday, and tells all the banks and tells everyone who has done business with the deputy governor of Edo State that they are transacting business at their own risk. And anybody who has spent whatever whatsoever should return that. Now, we're going to have a lot of discrepancies when it comes to budgeting, money, and so on and so forth. How do you foresee this playing out, especially now that there seems to be a fracas in between the entire decision, seeing the deputy governor coming back and Godwin's still in the mix, in the picture as well?
Well, I think I want to also make this clear statement. As I speak with you now, Godwin is not the deputy governor of Edo State. Godwin can
Noted. We know that. We know that. But of course, you have the governor who's already brandishing, calling him the deputy governor. He's deputy governor because there was also a statement released by the governor saying whatever Philip Shaibu is saying, no one should listen to him. Everyone should pay attention to Godwin. So there's a divide. And yet, the concern of the Edo people is monies have been spent, whether we like it or not. So how do we put all of these things together, and how do you see this play out?
Well, from the decision that the deputy governor has taken, Right Honorable Philip Shaibu, they are in tandem with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In the discharge of that office, if anybody will be called accountable, it is Honorable Philip Shaibu. So if at the period he was out of office, anybody has taken any decision, he has the right to put a stop to it. Yes, I'm aware that the governor already has an SSA on deputy governor's office, who is now his previous deputy governor that is still branding as the deputy governor. The best way to do it is, if there have been any shady deal, and Honorable Philip Shaibu is saying there should be a stop to it, I think what is right is what he has said. And if perhaps there has been, the best is to report to the anti-graft agency for swift action, because we must continue to call leaders accountable. The court cannot say X, Y, Z, and you are saying ABC. The court has the final say on that matter. And if the court has spoken, the man resumes his office and discharges his duties. If there are discrepancies, there are information that needs to get to appropriate headquarters, or there are issues that have to do with finance that is not clear, the right agencies should be involved. As the issue of Edo State is now, EFCC has been involved for some time. I am aware that the Commissioner for Finance has been invited. So if banks and other agencies also know that issues like this have been at hand, the best thing they should have done is to consult their lawyer before dealing with the Edo State government, as particular to the office of the deputy governor. And if that is not done, then they should bear every cost at their own risk too. Because if they could take such action, deal with an office where the real owner of the office is not there, then they should be ready for any eventualities. So I think in the tenets of the law, Shaibu must discharge his duties to the fullest. If there are issues that cause for accountability, he knows the right agency to do, and those agencies will be employed. So I don't see discrepancies in this decision. His actions are spelled out in the Constitution, and he will discharge that absolutely. That is what I believe in. And that is what you also know, that the Constitution prevails above personal emotions.
All right. I mean, I hope, maybe, I don't know if we have time, to once again go back to, the responsibilities of Philip Shaibu, as deputy governor. You said, that since he's been having these tussles, and as, in the period that he was kicked out, the state wasn't working. Bendel Insurance wasn't scoring goals and whatnot. So I hope we might have time to go back there. But I want to share your thoughts on what exactly is the bone of contention here, aside just being reinstated as deputy governor all the way till November. It wasn't picked up in the party's primaries. The PDP has picked its candidate. The APC, where he's a member now, has already picked their candidate. Labour Party has their candidate. So is there anything, that is bone of contention? And, I mean, what is the APC's chance in the elections in November as well?
Thank you so much. Let me start from the last one. As I speak to you, the APC is already 13 local governments ahead of other political parties. The 6 local governments in Edo North, the 5 local governments in Edo Central, and of course the 2 local governments under the control of the APC deputy governor. And strategically and very consciously, today the news of the campaign or the resignation of Barrister Omosede Igbeneghu, who has been a major contender with the APC deputy governor, just got to my table today that she has resigned from the PDP. So it means that the 2 obvious are no-go area for both APC, for both PDP and Labour Party. Then let me go to the issue, the tussle between the governor and the deputy. People were made to believe that it was the aspiration of the deputy governor that started the whole of this crisis. That is not true. And let me clear this. I am a member of the People's Democratic Party. and a noble stakeholder at that to date. Prior to this time, I knew that there was an issue between the both of them, and my access to information is something that is unblockable and is not flawed. Now, I got unnotable information that before the advent of the 2024 electioneering process, before even Comrade Philip Shaibu said he wants to be the governor of Edo State, he wants to contest, there was an issue. And the issue borders on governance and management of office. And I challenge the government of Edo State and anybody who is close to come and challenge me. There were issues. And what were the issues? Comrade Philip Shaibu has told the governor that there are no visible projects in Edo North and Edo Central for them to campaign in the future, where they will fly a candidate for the office of the governor, as we have today. Those were the beginning of their matters. And however, it didn't go down well with the governor, and the governor started giving him some distance and all the rest of it. Shortly after, about 3-4 months, he went to the governor to tell him of his intention to vie for the office. As at that period, in 2016, I started the Sun agenda. 2020, I repeated it again. 2024, I came up with the ASAN agenda again. And the governor, being one who has promised the ASAN people that the next governor will come from their side, kicked into that particular agenda. And the governor told him that there are cries from everywhere that they want ASAN agenda. And of course, the man told him there are no constitutional provision saying that power should be zoned. Let's go to the field. PDP has always been free for all tickets. And so he told him he was going to run. And then, of course, the present deputy governorship candidate of the PDP was also on the race. He stepped aside, and then Comrade Shaibu decided to pursue his ambition. That was what now triggered what we are now seeing today as you must be impeached, you must not stay in office, and all the rest. It was not the election per se or the interest to become the deputy, the governorship candidate or flag bearer of the party in 2024, eventually to rule Edo State in 2024 and beyond, that triggered this matter.
Yeah, just for clarity.
Triggered the matter,
just for clarity.
And for me.
Hold on. Just for clarity, I'll let you go on. I just want to clarify. You said Philip Shaibu went to Governor Baseki and asked for the ASAN agenda. Am I correct?
What he went to tell the governor is that he wants to run for 2024. The governor then told him about the ASAN agenda.
Okay.
So it was the governor who told Philip Shaibu about ASAN agenda. And Philip Shaibu told him that the constitution of PDP and that of Nigeria does not actually spell zoning. But PDP
has there been any conversations prior to that in Edo State politics with the agreement that Edo Central deserves to have the candidates zoned to Edo Central for 2024?
In all sincerity, there's been no discussion on that. In 2016, when I started the ASAN agenda, our leader of blessed memory, Chief Tony Okocha, called me and said, "You are a young man. I see your zeal. I'm happy we have people like you, but it's not yet time to drum for ASAN agenda. There are political calculations and pendulums. We must follow them." In his word, may his soul rest in peace. And the ASAN agenda laid to rest. In 2020, we came up with it again until the decamping of Obaseki to PDP. Leaders then called that since the party at the national has decided to give Obaseki the ticket for his second term, we should pause on ASAN agenda. And that was how we paused it again until 2024. So there's been no discussion as to zoning. We just felt, we have 3 zones that make up this thing, just morally, not under duress or being financed by anybody. And I make bold to say that these things should go to the third zone.
So do you still believe in it going to Edo Central, even if, according to you, there has been no agreement or no conversations about this prior to this election? Do you still believe that Edo Central deserves to have a governor?
Yes, I do. I have always opined, and I know that the best brain to govern any society cannot be found in a particular zone. you have to allow power rotate.
All right.
That is just conscious side of being moral. And I have not seen anything that stops ASAN from not producing
Okay, but
what I am for.
Will you have supported Philip Shaibu if he picked a ticket?
Yes, I would have done that. If he has picked the ticket on the platform of the PDP, I would have supported
any party,
I would have
because
done that.
he seemed like he was desperate. He would have picked it from anywhere. What I'm asking is, you have been carrying the ASAN agenda for so long. Philip Shaibu, is he from Edo Central?
It's from Edo North.
So it didn't matter to you. ASAN agenda didn't matter to you anymore if Philip Shaibu had picked the ticket.
No, I want to. You didn't allow me to land before you gave the other condition. Labour Party has an Edo South man, APC has an Edo Central man, and the PDP has an Edo Central man. If the pendulums has played and all gladiators allowed without the interference of the national, I didn't see an ASAN man picking any of the other two except for intervention. Now that God has, by his own wisdom, done that, I will always stay with an ASAN. But when there are no options and I see Shaibu on the ticket, because I know what he can do, I will support him. That's what I'm saying clearly. I will support him. But now that we have an ASAN man on the ticket, I am going for that ASAN man to the end.
All right. We'll see. I mean, the elections are in a couple of months.
Yeah.
Monday, Ukpebolo, and of course, the Labour Party candidate, Olumide Akpata. We also, of course, have the PDP candidate. Everyone, of course, will be fighting to the end. Aswe Godalu will be fighting till the end of the elections. I did see a poll yesterday. I'm not sure who organized that poll. I don't trust it, but, it didn't show a lot of faith in the APC candidate. But we'll see. November is very close by. Thank you very much for stopping by, Bob Manuel Umoru. Look forward to speaking with you again. All right. Anyway. Now, 52-year-old Angel Innocent has been allegedly picked up by the Nigerian Department of State Services, DSS. Angel, an End Bad Governance protester, spoke with News Central TV in Abuja during the protest prior to the disheartening event.
And bring people and paying 5,000 for each person. Sheyi Tinubu, these guys, they brought yesterday 10 buses here. Luckily, those people say it's their money. They join us for the protest. You understand it? So today he paid them. That was why the days there was much. Now they want to stop us for the right. Tell me the truth. Which country does not have any right to protest? Tell me the truth. Why are the government? Why do we have a leader? Why do you have a father in a home? You have a father to cater for you. It's only when you did not give your father responsibility, you go out and start drinking kai because there's no responsibility. But why are you in Nigeria? What is the privilege of being in Nigeria? What is the benefit of being in Nigeria? Tell me what you guys are enjoying as in Nigeria. Now what they do, they make us slaves. Alcohol power they are into is the one that control this world. They don't have feelings. They don't have feelings of human beings. People are dying, they don't care. There's no right to live, no right for anything. Look at police, only for this small crowd. Please, tell Tinubu he should come down. Tell the wife, she's their mother. It's their mother like me. I won't like my children to suffer. She's supposed to. Their hearts are sold to devil. Their hearts are sold to devil. Tell them there are mothers like me. I'm fighting because I want them to change. I have a son. I won't let it to go through what these people are going through. I can take care of my son and my son.
The lady you see there on your screen is 52 years of age. Once again, her name is Angel Innocent. Now, sadly, her house was invaded on the 7th of August by men who have been allegedly identified as operatives of the Department of State Services. Now, Angel has been talking tough, like you saw in that video, but her whereabouts are still not known yet. Coincidentally, a member of the family has reached out to us here on News Central, and hopefully we would get to hear an update if she has been released. But that's exactly what the update is. And if you go on social media, you'd find the hashtag #FreeAngel, which is currently still trending, if I'm right, at this time of the day. But then again, it's one conversation everyone is taking to social media, calling for her release. And that's the update that we have for you. Anyway, away from that, the Kano State Police Commissioner Salman Dogo Garba has stated that no deaths were recorded during the #EndBadGovernance protest in the state, contradicting reports of at least 5 fatalities. Garba announced this during a press conference where suspects were paraded, adding that 873 suspects were arrested and a large quantity of exhibits recovered.
He highlighted the command's achievements in maintaining law and order, including the arrest of suspects for various crimes and the recovery of stolen items. However, families of deceased individuals are still grieving, and the police statement has raised questions about the accuracy of their claims. And of course, these are some of the things that we've spoken about. The whole of last week, I'm asking the police to provide some level of clarity as to whether lives were lost to the bullets, live ammunition of Nigerian police officers or not. And of course, maybe disregard or dispel the reports by Amnesty International, the Punch newspapers, the Vanguard newspapers, and I think the Daily Independent that reported between 14 to 17 lives that were lost. The police, of course, in their statements during the EndBadGovernance protest, only mentioned that IUD was detonated during the protest in Borno State, I believe, which led to loss of certain lives. But of course, the independent reporters have said otherwise, and of course, have claimed that the police did fire live ammunition that led to the loss of lives. We're still following a story in Kaduna State where the Nigerian army is alleged, of course, a soldier from the Nigerian army is alleged to have shot through the doors of a family house, which led to the loss of 1 life in that house. So there still needs to be some level of clarity, and of course, a proper investigation must be carried out to ensure that every life that was lost during the EndSARS protest, EndBadGovernance protest, I beg your pardon, gets the justice that they deserve. It's been a very interesting morning here. Another thing I should quickly mention from our conversation with Bodmanuel Umoru, I think in Nigerian terms, if Olive was here, she'll probably provide some clarity. She's a legal expert. But when an appeal is sought for the stay of execution, I think it is the initial judgment is frozen until that appeal is heard. And it's a thing that I probably should have mentioned, and I caught myself there, should have mentioned during the conversation with Bodmanuel Umoru, that in Nigerian law, when an appeal is sought for stay of execution, the initial judgment is frozen until that appeal is heard. But we will expand on those conversations as we go further. Let's take you through a recap of some of the things spoken about in the last hour and also what comes up right next. Yes, Edo State governor accuses Shaibu of impersonating the deputy governor as he announces his return. Police refute claims of protest-related casualties in Kano State. And also we shared with you the NLC raid was a move to sabotage efforts, says the Nigerian police. But that's not all this morning. Let's also let you know what's coming up next in the second half of Breakfast Central.
Coming up next in the second hour, Patriots Group visits Tinubu seeks new constitution. We'll be talking about that story. We also have the front pages of the newspaper starting right now, so get your fingers itchy and start dialing. We'll find out what you are saying on social media. We'll be right back. The front pages is here, and that hour is here as well. That time where we take a look at what the newspapers are saying. Joining us this morning is publisher, the Niche newspaper, Mr. Ikechukwu. Thank you for being here.
It's always my pleasure. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. I mean, I'm going to borrow a leaf from Osalge's question to you while we're off air. I hope you enjoyed the CNG bus when you're coming back.
Yes, fantastic development.
Yeah, that's it. I like that. I like that.
Let's see if every other person's enjoying it. It's in the news this morning. We're going to kick off with this Nigerian newspapers this morning. See what we can find. It says the federal government rolls out 30 CNG buses in Abuja, says it's economic necessity all Nigerians must embrace. Each bus to transport 100 persons daily with alternative to diesel usage. In Edo State, it says, I have resumed duties as Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu says. You can't return. You're an imposter. Government replies. We struck at NLC building to fish out terrorists hiding there, says the police. And also Shettima blames underdevelopment in North on leadership. Wow. Good morning, Kashim Shettima. These are the major stories on this Nigerian newspaper's front pages.
All right, let's check out one more before we go straight to Gichuku, who's here with us as well. Let's see the next paper and see what we're going to talk about. It's got to do with Vanguard. Tinubu commissions 30 hybrid CNG buses at the top left. You can see it there, top left corner. Alleged 5.4 billion naira shares. CBN, FBN Holdings ask court to dismiss Barbican Capital suit. Anyway, this stresses harsh economy forces shutdown of over 50 firms, 80% others in low capacity utilization, over 100,000 employees thrown into job market. Labour begs federal government to please intervene. Yes, they are begging. Tough times. Shaibu resumes as Edo Deputy Governor. Catholic bishops to federal government save Nigerians from multi-dimensional poverty, they say. Will engage market leaders to check exploitative pricing. FCCPC boss. And the question is, where have you been, sir? Where have you been? Madam, where have you been? The entire FCCPC. I think it's about months since we mentioned that the prices have gone up, and it's so good to hear from you, by the way. Final story from me. Southeast monarchs clergy decry ethnic profiling of Igbo. That's another story to look into in on Vanguard newspaper at the front page. Well, let's start off with one. I think I'm going to go off with this one here on the front page. It's got to do with the Catholic bishops, the federal government, save Nigerians from multidimensional poverty. What's your take on that? They've been quiet for a while in this entire back and forth conversation of what the economy is looking like. And now, all of a sudden, it's good to hear their voices.
No, I don't think it is quite correct to say that they have been quiet, because they have been talking. But of course, you know, the way the Catholic clergy, particularly the bishops, the way they do their own things, they are not the aluta kind of people. They give their advice now quietly. So they've been talking, and this is just a continuation of what they have been doing. And they have been advising the government. You see, when you say you've rolled out 30 CNG buses in Abuja, and each of those buses will convey 100 people in a day, it means you're talking about 3,000 people in a day. How does that solve the hardship that everybody is complaining about? How does that make life much more bearable for the people? I think the government is majoring in minor issues that do not address the hunger, the poverty that came about as a result of the policies they deliberately embarked upon. So the Catholic bishops are talking, and of course they have not said anything that other people have not said. Multi-dimensional poverty. Over 60% of Nigerians are multi-dimensionally poor. And that is unacceptable. Look, we continue saying this every day. The primary responsibility of the government is the welfare of the citizenry, security of life and property of the citizenry. This government has failed woefully. It bears restating that this government has not lived up to expectations. And people say, give them more time. Well, but we are assessing the last 15 months of the Tinubu presidency, and there is nothing. There is no index of human development that has gone north. All of them have gone south. In the last 14 months, mention every index of human development that you can think of they have all gone south. So let's wait and see. And there is nothing that is out there that the government is doing that seems to suggest that it's going to get any better today and tomorrow. And this excuse of, things were terribly bad. Didn't you know that things were bad?
Of course they knew. And when they talk about, give them time, I always like to remind everyone that what time is long enough for Nigerians to then accept that, okay, we're not going anywhere. And it's always a reminder that Nigerians don't have 3 years to just give you to, do trial and error. Nobody has 4 years of their lives to just hand over to you, to play around with, and then after the 4 years, we then say, oh, true, these people didn't really get it right. And that's why when people point it out in the first 14 or the first 15 months, don't tell them that they're silly or they don't know what they're saying. It's because many Nigerians have realized that for decades, they've been giving people time. Nobody has time anymore to just hand over to anybody to play with their future.
Also, don't forget, the immediate past president, Muhammadu Buhari, also
asked for time.
Went on the same trajectory. The 16 years of PDP ruined this country, and therefore we needed more time. And there we are, 8 years after, they ruined totally everything that even their successors, who are members of the same political party, are now saying that the guy destroyed Nigeria. So, and Tinubu has come in now and is asking for more time. To paraphrase you, how much more time can we afford as Nigerians to give to a bumbling government, as it were? Look, see, how can you sacrifice 4 years of your time for a government that seems not to have a clue as to how to make things better? We sacrificed 8 years under Buhari, and people are saying that it is only normal, acceptable, that we should also sacrifice another 4 years under Tinubu, and perhaps another 8 years, making 16 years of trial and error.
Yeah.
The policies you've come up with are not working. It is as simple as that. If you like, bring 1 million CNG boxes. They are not going to make anything better. Because, okay, how many people are even privileged to go on those CNG buses in a day? You and I, that have our personal cars, that will have to go to the filling station, that will fill the fuel tank every day.
Yeah.
I was home over the weekend. I traveled to Imo State, and the least you could buy a liter of petrol was 870 naira. To travel from Owerri to Mbise, that is less than 1 hour, and come back to Owerri, I was spending almost 25,000 naira. It is not sustainable. I don't know how else to put it. It is not sustainable. What Tinubu is doing is not sustainable. Can we go back to the status quo and look at these things once again?
They've said that the core problem is the price in fuel, that once fuel has returned or reverses back to what it used to be, automatically it will affect every other thing. But let me just quickly bring this forth as well. We talked about the bishops earlier, and the reason why I initially brought that one up was because you did have the charismatic bishops who visited the president before the protest and said they were not going to join the protest, that he's doing very well. Yes, I remember we had that here on News Central as well in the news. But let's take a call first. Samuel joins us from Abuja. Samuel, good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, go ahead.
I want to just make a contribution to the topic
please do.
under discussion. I think generally our leader expect Nigerians to like we have a teaching hospital. It has become a teaching country where every leader will want to come and experiment and learn. Every time they fall back to the excuse of asking for time. The rulers actually send the bosses and they want us to celebrate. That does not address the question. Where the food are coming from? How many they send the bosses? Will they get there to go and bring the food from the hinterland? And they left the bad road hindering the movement of people from bringing the food. They left the insecurity and they're just scratching the surface in the town. Even in the town here in Abuja, how many people even vote for them that they are putting the bosses to think that they are solving the problem? And is that a solution to our problem? They knew it. They have traveled around the world. They saw good things how it's happening there. But when they come back home, they turn us to teaching hospital so that the country will be teaching them how to lead. They ask time, experiment this, experiment that. Those are not the things. You can't just wake up one day, remove fuel subsidy, and then you float the naira. Those are the two key things that has brought this country to the level we are now. That's the way the address should come from. Let it go back to the basics. When you get it right, you can go back to saying bosses. That is just the thing.
All right.
The finance are not working. And so out of the 20 bosses, 330 of them solve the problem of 36 state plus Abuja and then over 200 million people. I think that they're taking us for a ride. I pray they do this to just meet them on their feet there.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Samuel.
All right, thanks, Samuel.
Thanks for calling.
All right, let's quickly jump to all the stories. Yeah, I think in Edo State, you could quickly react to the the two deputy governors, the stay of execution, the you can't return, you're an imposter, APC, deputy governor, PDP governor. It's just a lot of chaos.
And that's what our politicians are putting us through, chaos upon chaos upon chaos. But I think the issue of Edo State is a straightforward matter. The courts ruled that Shaibu remains the deputy governor until there is a superior, another judgment by a superior court. I think he remains the deputy governor. The problem is that we have a lot of impunity in this country, particularly at the level of the executive arm of government. A governor feels he's above the law. The president, of course, is above the law. And they cherry pick. They decide which judgments to obey and which judgment not to obey.
Yeah, just for clarity, and I don't know if you would know, is it true that in Nigerian law, when you apply for a stay of execution, the initial judgment is frozen until that appeal is heard?
I am not a lawyer, but I have also spoken to lawyers. They said no. If you file an appeal against a judgment, that does not automatically translate to a stay of execution of the judgment, unless because what was given was clear. It was not ambiguous.
Yeah.
So going to court to say I have filed an appeal, which you have the right to, does not necessarily stay the execution of the judgment that was given by the court. So, like I said, I'm not talking as a lawyer because I am not one, but I have also listened to some learned gentlemen.
Yeah.
And the vibe I got from what they told me is that
it doesn't work like that. Because I did a quick Google search, and that's what it shows. But let's say Hope Benjamin is a lawyer. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning. Welcome. How are you doing? I'm not a lawyer, but I want to make a contribution.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm not a lawyer, but I want to make a contribution, please.
It's fine. Go ahead. It's open. Go ahead.
Yes. I know the court has done their own because they asked him to. He has the right to resume. The right thing for the Edo governor is for them to appeal.
Okay, go ahead.
For them, because they have nullified the impeachment. The court has nullified the impeachment. Right now, the Shaibu has the right to resume as the deputy governor.
Okay.
All right. Anyway.
All right.
Thanks for calling, Benjamin. Thanks.
Yeah, because what was given was a declaratory judgment. And I think the appeal court has to make a declaration one way or the other before we can say that stay of execution comes into effect. And unless and until they do that, I think that Shaibu constitutionally has the right to say he has resumed. But it is neither here nor there. He can't work with the governor. It is
But the same Shaibu has already warned people who have transacted any business with Honorable Godwins that they should be careful. They should that they are not dealing with him. That in short, he has even told his own workers that if you don't resume today, you would face the wrath of the law. You could be fired.
The truth of the matter is that the relationship between Obaseki and Shaibu has irretrievably broken down. If what Shaibu is looking for is that so that at the end of the day, because if you were impeached, it then means you won't be entitled to all the payouts, emoluments that come to your office when you leave. If that is what he is looking for in the next, so that at the end of the day, he will be both de facto deputy governor and de jure deputy governor, fine. But if it is that he will have anything to do
with governance in the state in the next couple of months,
I don't see that. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, well, I think I tried to make that point earlier, but I mean, they both would sort themselves out. But there's a story here that I thought was very interesting, and I very likely would use it for a monologue, maybe tomorrow or next. Shettima blames underdevelopment in the north on leadership. Kashim Shettima was governor of Borno State from 2011 to 2019.
For 8 years.
Great. For those of them who may not have been hearing the name for the first time. But he blames underdevelopment in the north on leadership.
And he's correct. He's right. Except that he also has to add himself to the list of leaders from the north that have refused to lift their people up. Look, the problem, not only in the north, the problem of Nigeria, as Chinua Achebe said in his book, is simple leadership failure. And Shettima was, after all, it was under Shettima that Boko Haram blossomed in the north. Yes, it didn't start with him. It started with Ali Modu Sheriff. But under Shettima, the Chibok girls were adopted. And he was warned. There was a security decision that students in schools should not be allowed, particularly in remote areas. He didn't heed that call. So there is leadership failure in the north. If we are talking about multidimensional poverty in Nigeria, 70% is in the north. If you are talking about out-of-school children in Nigeria, almost 80% in the north. So everything we are pointing at that has gone wrong with Nigeria has more to do with the north. And what are they doing? What are they doing? And don't forget that since Nigeria had independence, we've had more rulers from the north, the same north.
Yeah. Can you just kindly hold on? Good morning, Daniel.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, go ahead quickly.
Okay. My contributions will be this. On Shaibu, Yes, I'm not a lawyer. However, I know that filing for a stay of execution does not amount to a pronouncement that should override whatever decision had been taken earlier by a court. A court of competence jurisdiction has to be the one to do that. I did see an APC gentleman talking about that, one of the aides to the governor of Edo State, talking about that a while back, maybe 2 weeks back or 3 weeks back. And it was definitely wrong. It's inappropriate in every sense. Filing cannot override a court decision. That's logical enough. Then there's an issue I would like to quickly speak to that is not related to what you're discussing now, if you don't mind. It's about
Go ahead quickly.
It's about Bernard Akinle's harassment. I don't know, but I noticed there isn't the sort of camaraderie you should have amongst journalists. Yes, News Central made a lot of, let me call it noise. You know what I mean by that. Made it loud as possible that this happened. But it did not echo on channels. It did not echo on Arise and several other TV stations. You begin to wonder why. As concerned as every journalist should be, neither was it in the newspapers. But it happened. Interestingly, some few days back, a Channels TV reporter, a lady, was equally harassed. Her tablet collected, whatever they had recorded, deleted. And they announced it. It's not announced in every other TV station. I think there should be a synergy amongst journalists to have a voice, to speak together, so that the voices will be loud enough and heard all through the quarters. Thank you.
And I agree. All right. Thank you very much. Good point you made there, which I agree with. I just wanted to quickly throw in, as we talk about, the North, if you remember during the End Bad Governance protest, one of the fears that they continued to push out was, once, the North breaks down in law and order, it's uncontrollable, and people need to be careful, so that the North doesn't completely, get disrupted. And in my head, I kept thinking, that the reason that you have those number of jobless people running around, and possibly going to cause complete anarchy is because you've kept them unemployed. It's because you have the largest number of unemployed people and the largest number of children on the streets in that region. If you didn't have that as the status quo, as we said this morning, then you maybe wouldn't have those fears.
Leaders from the North have, over the years, inexplicably dehumanized their own people, made them poorer, refused to educate them. And the result we have is the phenomenon of amajiris all over the place. Uneducated, illiterate people who are there. And before now, they have always served a purpose, serving as the foot soldiers of the political leaders to cause mayhem when they need them. Whereas these political leaders are all educating their children in the best universities all over the world, but they have refused to invest in education. They have refused to empower these people economically, socially. The result is that, look, when you create these social problems, somewhere along the line, it turns back to haunt you. So now, what has happened with the End Bad Governance protest is that the monster that has been breeding has turned back to haunt them. And the people like Nashetima, they are no longer protesting against a Goodluck Jonathan. They are now protesting against their own political party, against their own political interest, and they are beginning to shout that who underdeveloped the North? The first prime minister we had, in fact, the first and only prime minister we had in this country, hailed from Bauchi. After that, after the counter coup of July 29, 1966, we had Gowon. After Gowon, we had Murtala Mohammed. Then Obasanjo came in. After Obasanjo, we had Shehu Shagari from the same north, Sokoto. After Shehu Shagari, we had Muhammadu Buhari from Katsina. After Muhammadu Buhari, we had Ibrahim Babangida from Niger. After Babangida, we had Abacha from Kano. After Abacha, we had Abdul Salami from Niger. And then we had election. Obasanjo came in. After Obasanjo, we had Yaradua. After Yaradua died, we had Goodluck Jonathan. After Goodluck Jonathan, we had Muhammadu Buhari. So in the how many years of Nigeria's independence, the North had held sway over 60% of the time. So if and look, allocations are made through local governments and all that. Kano State alone has 44 local governments. It then means that Kano gets much more allocation than almost the whole of the Southeast put together. Between Kano and Jigawa, they have, that used to be one state, they have as much more local governments as any other place. The Northwest is the only zone that has 7 states. Southeast has only 5.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about? They have the bulk of the money coming to them in terms of federally allocated revenue.
Yeah.
And what are they doing with it? Why can't they educate their people? So, Vice President Shettima is coming to the table late. But it is good that they are beginning to realize that they have pauperized their people themselves. And they don't have anybody to blame for what has happened to them. Will they make amends? We'll wait and see. But if they don't, this monster may consume them at the end of the day.
Yeah. And just to also put it in perspective, you know, even in the times when there was a southern president, there was always a, you know, northern born vice president. You know, so they've always had some level of representation, even in Nassau Rock, all the while. The strong points that you made, really, you know, of course, you know, should not be forgotten is the part where you said the monsters that they've been breeding, you know, would eventually come back. And it's the scary part. And that's why I pointed out the End Bad Governance protest. The only reason that they were worried, and people were pointing out Northern Nigeria and seeing the numbers that were rising from Northern Nigeria, is because they understand that that is a ticking time bomb, even worse than most of the parts of the country in the South. The ticking time bomb really is the number of uneducated and unemployed people that you have in those parts of the country.
Also, it can only get worse. We're talking about hunger in the South. Go to the North and see hunger. The poverty in the North is hydra-headed. You have hope that where things may be better, that makes things a little easier to manage. When somebody has no hope and has no skill and is not equipped with what it takes to navigate this very difficult terrain, it becomes much more difficult. So what happened in Kano, what happened in Kaduna, what happened in Katsina is only symptomatic of the level of poverty, the very abject depth that those guys are plumbing in terms of lack of education, lack of skills, and lack of the resources to live as human beings. They have been reduced to subhuman level, and the reaction you are seeing, which manifested in the End Bad Governance protest, and which will continue, Because there's nothing that is being done today to mitigate that problem. It can only get worse.
All right. Hillary, good morning. Good morning, Hillary. Go ahead.
Good morning. Hillary, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Something on the Kochetimas. Yeah, I'm with you. Hello?
All right, you're going to have to call us back, but please turn your TV off before you call, or turn the volume down before you call.
All right.
Please call us right back.
Try and call back. Okay, we have just 2 minutes to wrap this papers up, or a minute, beg your pardon. In 1 minute, let's take a look at what one of the papers is saying. Most importantly, I think that's what we should do, since we've been able to cover the other one. So let's take one last paper very quickly. Let's see if we can do that with... let me see here very quickly. Okay, let's
bring the Daily Independent. You know,
yes, Daily Independent. Daily Independent.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that. Let's take one story. Police cordon off Rivers APP Secretariat after explosives attack. We saw that happen yesterday. The APP Secretariat was attacked yesterday. They said it was attacked with explosives, and many have said that this is as a result that. Of the fact that the Rivers governor, Siminalayi Fubara, is, in quotes, allegedly moving to the APP.
I just hope and pray that politicians don't set Rivers State ablaze, because it doesn't make sense. The crisis we've had in Rivers since May 29, 2023 are unnecessary. And that is because some people think they are gods that must be obeyed. What is going on in Rivers is simply ego war. And people are prepared to go to ridiculous extent in order to assert their hegemony, in order to claim that they are the godfathers of Rivers State. I just hope and pray that they don't set that state ablaze. Okay, if you go, I don't know the reason. It is speculation that Fubara wants to join APP. I don't know why he would want to join the APP in the first place. But assuming, without considering that that is true, why bomb the Secretariat?
How does that stop him?
It doesn't add up.
How does that not stop him from joining APP if indeed he wants to join the APP? Don't forget, yesterday or 2 days ago, yesterday, the courts also ruled that Okocha, who has been the interim chairman of APC, has no locus. And therefore, they went back to Emeka Beke, whose tenure, 4 years tenure, as the Rivers State APC chairman, still subsists. All these things revolve around just one man who is creating confusion in Rivers. How can you, a state you govern for 8 years, how can you make it lawless, ungovernable? Are you considering the impact of this nasty politics on the welfare and well-being of the people of Rivers State? Are you ever giving any thought to the fact that the people of Rivers State also need good governance, and that good governance cannot come in an atmosphere of chaos that we have created in Rivers State? So I don't know what it is that they want. The police, if you ask me, has not been neutral in all this. I wish and hope that we will have a Nigerian police that could win itself from the influence of political actors and godfathers and do what is right for the people and for the country.
All right, brilliant. Gichukwu Amechi, as always, thank you very much for joining us and for very, very brilliant thoughts on these issues across the country. We'll see you again next week.
Also, the pleasure is always mine.
Thank you.
And Joe, good to see you again.
Same here. Same here.
All right. Stay with us to take a short break. When we come back, we, of course, will continue this morning. We have a guest joining us to discuss the calls for a review of the Nigerian Constitution by, of course, the Patriots Group. Stay with us. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo says Nigeria is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Will the Patriots be the heroes who would stop an explosion from happening? That's a big question. Now, last Friday, the national leaders of thought, the Patriots, led by former Commonwealth Secretary General Chief Emeka Beke, met with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa to address the country's instability and insecurity. They emphasized the need for a democratic people's constitution to address the country's political and economic challenges, including separatist agitations, insecurity, and national protest. They also urged the president to initiate a national dialogue with leaders of nationwide protests and to refrain from using lethal weapons on protesters.
President Tinubu, in his response, acknowledged the importance of a new constitution, however, noted that his top priority is to retool the economy for sustainable growth and development. So he pledged to review the request for a new constitution and invite the Patriots for further discussions. Well, joining us is Emeka Beke, the South-South delegation member of the Patriots and convener of the Niger Delta Self-Determination Movement. It's a pleasure having you join us here this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so stemming from the conversation had with the president just a few days ago, can you share with us why this is very, very key, especially looking at the current situation that we find ourselves as a nation?
This is not the first time that this call is being made, and then this is a group of people that are non-partisan. Most of them are non-partisan anyway. I definitely am, and the fact that this 1999 Constitution is a constitution that binds the hands and the feet, if you like, of both the citizen and the representatives of the citizen, so that changes we want to make. We found ourselves in the past amending the Constitution, and we've agreed to a very large extent that the 1999 Constitution is quite a worrisome constitution because it's not a constitution of the people of Nigeria, by the people of Nigeria. So this has led to why it was necessary. If you remember, our last leader was Professor Ben Wabweze, who passed away, and we now have the new leader. And at the colloquium to honor the past leader, the late leader Ben Wabweze, was when the decision was made. Now, when that decision was made, there were a lot of present governors, past governors, senators, and so I don't seem to understand, or if you like, appreciate the argument or the discussion sometimes in the past few days where people are thinking or saying that the president has been hijacked and we have brought up this issue at a wrong time. We made the request to see the president as far back as April or May, and this is the first time that the president is responding, asking us to come and see him. And so that's why we have made that a presentation to him. It was a presentation we decided upon more than 3 months ago.
Okay. Give us, further details, because it's not the first time, like you've said, that we're talking about, constitutional review. If you remember, the Buhari administration did make, certain changes here and there, which they described as a review of the Constitution. So give us, some clarity as to what, what type of review you would want with the Constitution. What do the patriots want to see change with the current Nigerian Constitution? Bear in mind that in 2014 also, there was a national conference that was held with the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan government. The resolutions of that conference, have been abandoned since then.
Yes. We're not talking about making amendments to this present 1999 Constitution. We are talking about a new Constitution. In the presentation that was made right at the beginning, when our leader spoke, he used the word illegitimate. And a lot of people have made that illegitimate constitution. That is to say that what he actually said is that we want good governance under a legitimate Nigeria People's Democratic Constitution, which would best ensure the unity and peaceful development of the country. So there is nothing like amendment. We're not asking for amendment of the 1999 Constitution. We're asking that the people of Nigeria, through the president should send a bill to the National Assembly requesting that this call is made. And we have highlighted how we think or how we are proposing that it should be done, which is by election. We have also said that the 1960 Constitution, including the 1963 Constitution, and so many other constitutional reviews that have been made in the past, and even the 2014 report of the National Conference, of which my humble self was a delegate, that all of these things should be looked at by Nigerians that are going to sit down with the plan and idea that we're sitting down for a new constitution, not to sit down to review 1999 Constitution and amend it in any way, shape, or form. We are calling for a new constitution that Nigerians have the right to reject or accept. Okay. Because we are also that there be a referendum when this is done, so that the people of Nigeria will have the say as to whether they accept this this new constitution or that they do not accept this new constitution. Okay. I think it's very important that that Nigerians are allowed to understand, and let us not have a situation where what we said or are saying is being misrepresented and misinterpreted. The president said to us that we are a group he cannot ignore. So when he said, and don't forget, the president himself is known to have fought for this constitution that we have today. And it was after they succeeded that this new 1999 constitution was brought on board. And so the president himself is not a stranger to this call we're making.
Okay, one last question from me. Yesterday, we did have a few guests who looked into this request or the change or a new constitution, so to say. And one of the key questions asked was that one of the things posed or put forth to the president is that there's going to be a constituent assembly where 3 persons will be selected from the 36 states of the federation. And these persons will be non-partisan. They would have no affiliation with politics. Can you explain to us very quickly, because we're running out of time, how you intend to make these selections of these 3 persons?
Okay, first of all, it was suggested that it should be done by directly electing the individuals, but this proposal we have made is that by a long shot not cast in concrete or in iron, as they would say. This is just our suggestion. But in suggesting that, we have also taken into consideration along the way that it might come to the point where it definitely will also be done by recognizing and accepting that we have various different ethnic nationalities within a state. Like, for instance, in my own state, in Rivers State, we have Ogonis, we have Kwes, we have Ikwere, we have Ijos, we have Eleme people, we have a lot of ethnic, Egi people, we have other ethnic nationalities. So when you come to Rivers State, you definitely, you will have to take into consideration that there are other ethnic nationalities. And I think we've made that also clear, that right from the beginning, that Nigeria is a pluralistic country, like so many other countries across the world. And what that means is that we are recognizing that within Nigeria, we have people, ethnic nationalities of over 300, more nearer to 400, that speak different languages and have different culture and have different religion. That's the meaning of a country that is pluralistic. And so you can't come to Rivers State and just choose, say, an Ijo person and an Ogoni person and an Ikwere person and say, these are the three representatives of Rivers State. It won't work because there are other ethnic nationalities. But we will develop this idea with other people within Nigeria to arrive at the very best that we will bring up to get a new constitution. The idea is not to amend the constitution of 1999. The desire is to have a new constitution. We must understand this. It's a new constitution we're looking for. Okay. We're not looking to amend the 1999 constitution. We believe that the 1999 constitution was never workable, is not workable, it has not worked, and we need a new constitution. Other countries have done it. There is nothing peculiar about Nigeria. We can do it.
All right, thanks a lot. Well, we'll see. I mean, time will tell. The president has said that he's currently focused on Nigeria's economic challenges, and he would attend, maybe consider your request in the future. So let's see if, he actually does that or not. Time will tell. But thanks to the Patriots, of course, for the work that you've done. I see all the faces there, very prominent Nigerian faces who have always spoken for the birth of a better Nigeria. And so we applaud you and, of course, every member of that group for the work you've done. Emeka Briggs, thank you very much for joining us this morning and for speaking with Nigerians. We look forward to more conversations with you in the near future. Thanks for your time.
And that does it for the show for today. It's been so many conversations, so much, but it's like we should continue, but we'll do that tomorrow, by the way. In case you missed out, don't forget to watch the show. You can get it on YouTube and the likes, all right? I'm Joe Hansen.
And I am Osaogi Ogbonwa. Thank you very much for joining us today. See you tomorrow.